Good morning, folks, and welcome to an unscheduled live breaking news live stream. Crime Time with DutyRon here. We still have our 145 live stream scheduled. Michael Brown, Rex Heuermann's defense attorney, is going to be given a statement. He's actually given a statement. Take a listen to Michael Brown and what he has to say. These are the defense team who have been advising Rex Heuermann. He pled guilty to 8 murders today, as we discussed last night. He was asked details, and he confirmed strangulation of all 8 victims. He has. We have some court audio of Rex Heuermann in court being addressed by the judge. We will play that. If you can, please share this video, like it, subscribe. Let's listen to Rex Heuermann's attorneys outside of Suffolk County Criminal Court, which is in Riverhead, Long Island. This is just moments ago.
Now, as attorneys, we've counseled him, we've advised him, but that decision is ultimately up to the defendant. He controls his case, and that's his prerogative, that's his right, and that's what happened here today. When Rex decided that he wanted to accept responsibility and didn't want to proceed to trial, from a defense standpoint, we then pivoted and did our best to protect his interest. That included the fact that he's going to cooperate with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, and as you heard the district attorney, there will be no further prosecutions in regards to these 8 victims. The district attorney's office of Suffolk County did an excellent job. I'll commend them. They deserve all the accolades. I've been reviewing this case for over 2.5 years. I can't express to you, and I know we've talked about it on many different dates, the volume of evidence and discovery. They did a great job. They really did a great job of gathering the evidence, going down. They went down hundreds of rabbit of evidence, and you connect the dots. They really did a great job. And I'm talking about the investigators, the detectives, their experts, the assistant district attorneys. So I'm sure that the families of the victims are very grateful to the district attorney, and the people of this county should be as well. This was an unprecedented case, and I can tell you that I am very fortunate to have had a legal team that helped me on this over the course of the last 2.5 years. I don't know where Mr. Capone is, and Mr. Fuchs. They are excellent writers, and we battled this from day one, and we were prepared from day one to try this case. Chase Brown has been an excellent help in terms of everything we've been doing. He is a rising star in this county. My co-pilot, Danielle Koish, she really put together that Fry hearing. That was such a monumental hearing here in New York State, and she's organized and came up with such crafty arguments during the course of this case. So I'm really grateful for their help. We really were, in my opinion, zealous. We did our best to be competent and effective during the course of this prosecution and the defense. One of the things that I was very mindful of and made a deliberate point is we attacked the evidence. We never attacked these young ladies, these victims. That was never our objective. We never said a bad word about them, and they ran into some tough times. They were all beautiful young ladies. Their mothers, their daughters, their sisters, I can go on. But it was never about attacking them. It was always about attacking the evidence. So I think that this today gave hopefully some peace and some closure to the family members. This case is over from our standpoint. You heard the prosecutor indicate there will be no further prosecutions in exchange for his plea of guilty, as well as his cooperation with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Behavioral Analysis Unit. I respect the press and their role in in the criminal justice system. So I'm happy to take some questions to the best that I can at this
Was there
point.
a specific
What changed and when? That's what we're trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
well,
He had insisted on.
I can't give you our conversations that are confidential, but I will say to you that there came a point in this defense where Rex said, I want to plead guilty. And it was at that point when we really had an objective of protecting his interests.
Sure, but can you give us some?
I can't.
timeline on
No,
when that
no,
was?
because that's all confidential. I'm not going to get into the time frame.
Is he cooperating with the FBI?
I'm sorry.
Has he spoken to Asa?
Has he spoken to Asa? I don't know. You'd have to ask Asa.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about the parameters of the FBI cooperation? Because we couldn't really hear you on the mic well when you mentioned that in court. And what does that mean for a potential federal prosecution of Rex, if at all?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to discuss any of that. All I can say is he has an obligation to cooperate fully and completely with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit. I can't get into anything further. Anybody? Yes, sir.
This plea comes sometime after the judge ruled on DNA. Was that part of the calculation that there was just another obstacle in the way to try to prove his innocence versus pleading guilty?
Well, we don't have to prove innocence, obviously.
Well,
it's about, but I understand your question. Yeah, I mean, listen, there are a couple of things that were major decisions in this case from a strategic standpoint for the defense. In terms of likelihood of success at trial, so to speak, the judge's ruling on the Fry hearing was monumental. Yes, that's a big deal because if you remember, you have mitochondrial DNA and the statistical likelihood is not that great. I feel like I'm a broken record, but that was 2.5 years ago. We talked about that. But once that nuclear DNA comes into play, those statistics, as portrayed by this expert, the Astrea lab, they're off the charts. So that's a major part of how successful you're going to be at trial. Another major part is our motion to sever, which Ms. Koish wrote a great motion on that because we didn't think, we suggested that the cumulative effect would have been so overwhelming, and the court disagreed with us, and the court permitted all of the counts in the indictment to remain together. That's a big win for the prosecution.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
you yourself told us many times that you believed he was not the guy. When did your thoughts on that change?
That was a great question a reporter asked him because remember, we listened to Mr. Brown say over and over and over again as a defense attorney. I'll put myself back on. My client unequivocally, hands down, had nothing to do with this. And this is what makes people like just lay people that watch this just scratch their head and say, wait a minute. I get that everyone's presumed innocent. You know, they have the presumption of innocence, but oh my God, what a great question, man. I don't know. You guys think that was, out of all the questions volleyed at this guy, that one was the best one, I feel. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Well, my thoughts aren't important. At some point, he admitted responsibility to us and indicated
Yourself told us many times.
all of the counts in the indictment to remain together. That's a big win for the prosecution.
Mr. Brown, you
Yes.
yourself told us many times that you believed he was not the guy. When did your thoughts on that change?
Well, my thoughts aren't important. At some point, he admitted responsibility to us and indicated that he wanted to proceed to trial. So I don't sit there and judge a case. Our objective and our job is to be zealous advocates for the client, right? That's what we do. We do it on every single case. A good lawyer is going to advocate for their client. That's what we've been doing from day one. My beliefs, and it's insignificant.
Mr. Brown,
Yes, sir.
The hearing is often, these kinds of hearings are so clinical. Can you give us an understanding of his mindset coming in and whether he, without betraying confidences, may have said something that indicated a particular way he was thinking or feeling about this?
You're talking about this morning?
Yeah.
Well, this is not something that nothing has been done from the hip. We don't shoot from the hip on this case. This case, every single decision we've made has been calculated and thought out, and we've thrown it around hundreds of times. And the reason I say that is, we've been speaking to him and preparing him for today, and that's been ongoing for weeks.
Is he sorry?
I would hope so.
Has
I
he
mean,
expressed remorse?
I expect at sentencing he'll have something to say. I'll leave it at that.
Was it a sense of relief, you think, for him to
I do.
admit this today?
I do. I think that was a huge sense of relief for him. I can't, I'm not in his position, obviously, and I never will be. But when you have that type of in your head and on your body and just, yeah, I think by admitting it, I think it's cathartic to some extent, sure.
Mike,
does
we
the fact
expect you to
of the
get into
DNA
more detail about how he did all of this at sentencing?
No.
What does the fact of the DNA evidence not being appealable do for other cases in this state?
I'm going to let Ms. Koish answer that because she really is now an expert on this area.
Yeah, so what we have in this Fry decision is a Supreme
Danielle,
Court
just stand a little
decision.
closer.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a Supreme Court decision. Another Supreme Court justice could hear the same issues and either agree with Judge Mazie or disagree with Judge Mazie. It's not a controlling decision yet. Okay, so I assume we're going to hear more. I think that this type of technology, now that the door was open, is going to be used more, and similar legal challenges are going to be raised. And it's up and until we get to the higher courts, what we call the appellate division over in Brooklyn, or even our Court of Appeals, does that decision become binding. So Judge Mazie's decision certainly opened the door. We're going to see it, and I'm sure we're going to hear what other Supreme Court justices and other judges in New York think about the case. But as of right now, it's just a door-opening decision.
Mr. Brown, can you just clarify if there was an agreement? He's pleaded guilty to 7 counts. He also acknowledged an 8th murder, but then there's something about no future prosecutions. Does that mean if there were other victims found in Suffolk that there would not be prosecutions?
No, there will be no further prosecutions on these 8 victims.
How did the 8th one come about? Like, how did that end up being part of it?
When he decided he wanted to plead guilty, we had that covered as part of his plea, and there'll be no further prosecutions as long as he cooperates with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit.
So is Rex maintaining that he has no other victims out there?
No, he's maintaining he has no other victims other than the 8, correct, yes.
When did Karen Bragada enter the conversation with you?
Who in the chat would believe that there's no other victims out there? I mean, anybody that thinks that Rex Heuermann just all of a sudden had a moment of, to be and do the right thing and agree. He pled guilty to the 7 and admitted to the 8th because he didn't want this charade to play out in court and have all of his sick, psychotic, homicidal maniac thoughts and journals put out there for the world to see, and to have all of his plans and everything, all the evidence that they had against him. He was embarrassed by it. He didn't want that to be out there. So he definitely has many, many more victims. There are, God, I pray that there's justice for all of the victims, and that when the behavioral unit of the FBI gets a hold of him, I'm hoping that more comes out of this, because this man right here that you're seeing on the screen is a monster. He's a demon. This is evil walking amongst us for decades. The guy's 61 years old. He didn't get arrested until his late 50s. And he was living and working and existing amongst all the people that he came into contact with everywhere he went. Not just Long Island, Vegas, South Carolina, Jersey, all the places that he traveled. He's a danger. He's a danger to society. He's a menace to society.
It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't have the timeline. I can't tell you. Obviously, she came into play. Her as a victim came into play at some point. I can't tell you exactly when.
Weeks, months?
I don't know.
For those of you who are asking, Nabul, good to see you. Sentencing will be June 17th of 2026. June of this year will be the sentencing of Rex Heuermann. I saw some documentation that indicates that it's, he's obviously going to spend the rest of his life, his natural born life, in jail, 100+ years. And we'll get into it in the main live stream. Ray Tierney, the district attorney, is going to talk about that. But the sentencing has not yet occurred. June 17th is the sentencing. Trust me, he's never going to see the light of day. He's got major issues going on with his foot. And for those of you who are queasy, you can maybe close your ears or mute the microphone. There was reports that Rex Heuermann was using a cane to walk because of his weight. He had an open wound on the bottom of his foot that was oozing pus. I don't care. I hope it oozes till the man closes his eyes and goes to sleep. That's what's going on with Rex Heuermann at this particular time.
How much was the...
Mr. Brown, could you tell us if his family might have helped him make this decision?
I think that they speak, and I think that there was, I can tell you that, I'll say this, certainly several of his concerns, he had many, about why he didn't want to go to trial and plead guilty. He certainly wanted to save the families of the victims the ordeal of going to trial, and coupled.
Oh, that's bullshit. He doesn't care one bit about the victims' families. He chose these victims because they were sex workers, and he felt that they would not be investigated fully. He chose his victims because he knew that these are people who needed money, who were addicted to drugs and alcohol. He chose his victims. He was like a wild animal in the wild, choosing weak prey to prey on. And that is what makes this crime so disgusting. This serial killer, Rex Heuermann, that you're looking at here, he went after the weak and vulnerable, and he figured the police are not going to fully investigate these crimes. He was wrong. They eventually got him. But for decades, he was right. For decades, So he's never going to see the light of day. The sentencing is going to be June 17th. And until then, we don't fully know exactly what it's going to be. So thank you to everybody that's here. Please hit that like button, share this video out. And 1:45, I'm going to be live with Lieutenant Commander Joe Cardinale, NYPD retired lieutenant. And we're going to discuss and fully go into what transpired today. A lot has transpired. So let's listen to the rest of this, and there's more.
With saving his fans, I don't know.
How much was the...
Mr. Brown, could you tell us if his family might have helped him make this decision?
I think that they speak, and I think that there was, I can tell you that, I'll say this, certainly several of his concerns, he had many, about why he didn't want to go to trial and plead guilty. He certainly wanted to save the families of the victims the ordeal of going to trial, and coupled with saving his family that ordeal. So I know that there was conversations during the course of this defense between his family members and himself in regards to that, yes.
Did he not want his family members, his wife and his daughter, to know the details of the murders that he committed?
I would assume that. I'm sure, again, there was conversations about having them avoid the ordeal of a trial. It was definitely.
Yeah, for those of you who are asking about the death penalty, New York State does not have the death penalty on the books. The feds can charge and go after someone in any state with the death penalty. So this wasn't a federal crime. This was a crime from Suffolk County. So Suffolk County prosecuted it. The death penalty is not on the books. Life without the possibility of parole, or 100 years to life is a guarantee. Someone in their 60s is never going to see the light of day. He's not breaking out of prison anytime soon. And I'm going to do a show with a former inmate that spent 17 years incarcerated in New York State. And we're going to ask him, that's conservative felon Joe Fish. We're going to ask him, what's prison going to be like for Rex Heuermann? And you may be surprised with the answers that we get. I want to say one more thing before we could continue with this. Asa Ellerup and her daughter had, she made a statement herself with her attorney outside of court today. First time I've heard Asa Ellerup speak. And the one thing I will say that repulses me about Asa Ellerup is that she chose to make money with the Peacock Network on the backs of these victims, who this man right here, Rex Heuermann, her husband, who she calls a hero, who she loves, is she signed up with Peacock Network to make millions of dollars off of these 8 victims that we know of. There's many more. And I will tell you 8 ways to the sun that I am repulsed by that. It's disgusting. It's despicable. And she had the gall and the audacity to say, my heart and the focus should be on the victims and their families. When I heard her say that, I wanted to throw up. Matter of fact, I may have thrown up in my mouth a little bit. That's what I have a big problem with Asa Ellerup for. You know, you monetizing off of these victims that your husband tortured and murdered in your own home, in the basement of your home, is repulsive. It's despicable. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And we'll take a listen to what she had to say after Mr. Brown is done talking here.
Yes.
How much of a factor was the federal charge?
Okay, we've been listening to Rex Heuermann's attorney, Michael Brown. A lot of questions can't be answered due to client attorney privilege, but doing the best he can to answer some of the questions that he had to field.
And we are now hearing from Rex Heuermann himself this morning. Moments ago, we heard.
All right, this is going to be good because this is going to be inside the court. Has anybody here heard Asa Ellerup speak today? Press 1 if you heard her, and press 1 also if you have not. Press 2. But if you've heard Asa speak, press 1. If anybody here in this chat heard the audio and the video, seen the audio and video of Rex Heuermann in court today, I'd like to know about that. Put a 1 in the chat if you did. Put a 2 if you haven't. I'm going to put a 2 because I didn't get a chance to listen to this yet. So let's listen to Rex Heuermann as he speaks to the judge.
From Heuermann speaking to the judge before pleading guilty. Let's listen.
Have you discussed this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
Have you had enough time to discuss this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
After discussions with your lawyer, you feel it's in your best interest to plead guilty rather than go to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the manner in which your attorneys represented you in this case?
Yes, I am.
I must say that the attorneys on both sides of this case have been excellent, unbelievable lawyers. Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a charge, that is the same as if you had gone to trial and been found guilty of that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving a number of very important rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
As you're hearing from
Anybody get that Rex Heuermann is actually smirking at the judge? Did anybody get that vibe? He had a look on his face like he was happy that he was getting his moment and the cameras are rolling. You could see his a tooth missing, a couple of teeth missing in his mouth. Oh, that was a good stop right there by DutyRon. Right where my cursor is, there's a tooth missing, and maybe one over here too. But he seemed like he was smirking. Let me know what you think.
Yes, I have.
After discussions with your lawyer,
having them avoid having them
due to
Heuermann himself this morning. Moments ago, we heard from Heuermann speaking to the judge before pleading guilty. Let's listen.
have you discussed this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
Have you had enough time to discuss this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
After discussions with your lawyer, you feel it's in your best interest to plead guilty rather than go to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the manner in which your attorneys represented you in this case?
Yes, I am.
I must say that the attorneys on both sides of this case have been excellent, unbelievable lawyers. Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a charge, that is the same as if you had gone to trial and been found guilty of that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving a number of very important rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
As you're hearing from Rex Heuermann there for the first time, pleading guilty to 7 counts of murder, sentencing now set for June 17th.
All right, now we want to go back out to the courthouse, and Carolyn Gussoff, Jennifer McLogan are there. And Carolyn, we interrupted you earlier because we had to get to a press conference, but continue telling us what you're telling us.
Yeah, absolutely. What you just heard, Rex Heuermann's tone, his confident voice, that's exactly what continued for the next half hour. That was pretty extraordinary as we're talking about, diabolical crimes. He was just very matter of fact. It was very rapid fire questioning by the prosecutor. District Attorney Ray Tierney himself started questioning under oath Rex Heuermann and asking him specifics about each crime, about each of the victims. And to each question, he asked, did you murder this victim by name? And he would answer yes. And what was the means? What was the manner?
I'm going to add a little bit of something that we're going to get into on this afternoon after the press conference. One of the questions, and I'm not going to go through all 8, but this question was posed to Rex Heuermann by Ray Tierney. Mr. Heuermann, did you meet with Maureen Brainard Barnes, yes or no, on July 10th of 2010? He said yes. Mr. Heuermann, did you strangle Maureen Brainard Barnes? Yes. And I have all the rest of the questions, but I'm going to save that for the live stream that we do with Lieutenant Commander, retired NYPD, Joe Cardinale. It's really, really sickening to see what kind of a demon, what kind of a monster Rex Heuermann is and was, and it was functioning. He had an architect business in New York City, a very successful business where he traveled on the Long Island Railroad back and forth. And he even communicated with many girls that we heard of that he creeped out that were not victims. Yeah, Rex Heuermann had many contacts with many, many potential victims. And thank God he's behind bars where he belongs.
Of the murder, and he would answer strangulation for each of the 7 women in the indictment that he was charged with. And then again, for the 8th, he didn't have to articulate that because that was not a crime he was charged with, but he did admit that he also killed her by strangulation. The only details really that came out in this rapid fire plea was a couple of the elements they had to prove for first-degree murder. In order to prove first-degree murder, you have to have a grouping more than, I believe it's more than 2 murders, and they have to be the same manner. And so in order to prove that, he had to admit to questions about how they were lured in by burner phone, he admitted, and that he...
Yeah, first-degree murder is murder of 2 people or more.
Bound them with burlap around the midsection and their heads and dismembered them and put their remains in a manner that would be concealed along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. So those were really the only details. And while these details were spoken in the packed courtroom, family members of the victims, you could see wiping away tears. It was very emotional. So even though it was very mechanical, for Rex Heuermann and the district attorney, how quickly it all went. It was really such an incredible moment to have these details and a confession that, some people thought we would never have. And in the end, the only thing really that the prosecution conceded, because there's certainly no time that this was not a plea deal in the sense that there'll be any shorter sentence, but that there'll be no further prosecution in any of these 8 cases. And as you heard, that Rex Heuermann has also agreed to cooperate with the FBI's behavioral science team. They'll study him to learn, what makes a person do these awful things. And really an incredible day for me and for Jennifer McLogan. We've both been covering this literally for decades.
And our shock the first day when he was arrested up till when the shock again, when we find out he's pleading guilty.
Right. And never expected. And, it's interesting. The questions will linger as to why he did it. But his attorney just spoke about, wanting to spare the details for himself and his family.
Correct. It's it's been a very dramatic day here. You know, we're saying it's a huge case. It has haunted Long Island for so long, since the bodies of the first so-called Gilgo 4 were discovered in Ocean Parkway 2010, buried in those shallow graves. And of course, on the 4th floor of this courthouse behind us, Rex Heuermann finally giving some resolution, admitting to 7 and then 8 of these victims. He walked in, he entered the courtroom. As you heard him speak a moment ago, he spoke confidently. It was chilling, and we have some videotape now that we want to share with you.
By the way, these reporters are freezing outside. It's cold. It's in the 30s here in New York.
Until now, 62-year-old Rex Heuermann had publicly denied any involvement in the killings. A trial was expected to begin in September, facing life without parole if convicted. But something changed since he's been in a solitary jail cell. Was it sparing his own family? Was it his conscience, his health, getting out of solitary confinement? We hope to learn some answers in the hours to come. Nabbed in July of 2023 outside his Manhattan architectural consulting business, his shocking arrest, and the gruesome, sadistic details of a serial killer quickly became worldwide news.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us.
There is a former Suffolk County Police Commissioner and former Chief of Detectives of the NYPD, Rodney Harrison. Rodney Harrison spearheaded the investigation that led to the arrest of Rex Heuermann, and him calling him a demon at the podium with one of the victims' daughters staring at him. This is one of our victims, one of the 8 victims' daughter staring at this police commissioner who did an outstanding job. Kudos to former police commissioner Rodney Harrison.
A predator that ruined families.
Based on a tip of a unique vehicle linked to Heuermann, the Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force tracked his cell and burner phones, used advanced DNA testing from a leftover pizza crust, and hair strands found on multiple victims' bodies buried from Gilgo Beach to the East End. A planning document for how best to kill and evade detection.
This is the documents that we discussed last night. You know, problems. He has a whole list of problems: DNA, tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints. He did his homework as it pertains to trying to cover up forensics and trace evidence. Ed Wallace went over this on a previous live stream with us, and he said that this man really did a lot of studying, but criminals always make mistakes. And Rex Heuermann's hair, his wife's hair, his daughter's hair were all commingled in some of the remains of some of these victims. And that's why Asa Ellerup and her daughter are under a lot of scrutiny, because their hairs and so forth were found, or hair, a single hair found wrapped in that burlap within the remains of the victims. So troubling to say the least, but she's not been charged. The Suffolk County DA has not charged her or her daughter with any crimes. But again, people just say, the question is, we would say, hey, how do you not know? In a 1,200 square foot home, very small home, how do you not know? Did he do all these crimes when they were away? Maybe, maybe not.
Was found in Heuermann's basement. Heuermann's admitting to all 7 women's murders he was charged with, plus an 8th, Karen Vertaga, that had been unsolved until now. Vertaga, a Manhattan mother of 2, whose remains were found west of Gilgo Beach and on Fire Island more than a decade apart. Attorney John Ray represents victim Valerie Mack's son.
Little Patty, thanks for the question. If they find another victim, God forbid, in another state and connected to this case, would it make this federal? If you commit a felony, which murder would be a felony, and you cross state lines, then it becomes the feds can step in. If he has residents, multiple residents, let's just say, for argument's sake, he has a condo in Vegas and he murders somebody in Vegas. That's a little bit of a gray area because he has multiple residents. If he owns, you can own in multiple states. But even so, if he commits a murder in Vegas and then travels back to New York, you're crossing state lines, and this does not exempt him. If he's going to be put in CODIS after this, he pled guilty, so his DNA and his fingerprints are going to be in CODIS. And if there is hits in CODIS for other crimes, we may hear about this while he's incarcerated. So this might not be the end. Very good question, and thank you for that. Appreciate that, little Patty.
Who filed a wrongful death lawsuit yesterday, naming Heuerman's ex-wife and daughter, too.
His family knew or should have known what was going on in that basement. These girls were being tortured and slaughtered in his own house, a 1,343 square foot house.
The family attorney firing back, calling the claims unfounded, denying Heuerman's daughter and ex-wife had any involvement at all. Prosecutors said murders occurred when the Heuerman family was...
Hi, Barbara, and I'm sorry that you're a daughter of someone who spent 46 years in prison for killing his girlfriend. I'm definitely not saying anything about the daughter. The daughter was 3 years old when all this was happening, but it also, I'm just saying, people bring up the thought of this has been going on not just since 2010. Rex Heuerman, up until the time when he was arrested, was searching on burner phones for prostitutes. And what do you think he was searching for prostitutes to do with them? To continue to kill. So he was just arrested in 2023. And in 2023, Rex Heuerman was business as usual, trying to solicit more sex workers and lure them to potentially murder them. That's why they closed in on him. That's why they pounced on him, because they feared, if those of you who are following this, the authorities feared that Rex Heuerman was going to kill more girls. And that's why they locked him up quickly. The Suffolk County Police Commissioner admitted that at a press conference, admitted that the reason they pounced on him at that time is because he was engaging more sex workers. So, yeah, I don't agree with going after Asa or the daughter unless there is evidence. And if Suffolk County had evidence that they were complicit in any of these crimes, they would have already been in handcuffs. So I definitely don't think that at this point they have anything criminal against them. But did Asa know what her husband was up to? Did Asa know how freaky her husband is? Did Asa participate in some of these sex parties or sex things that went on allegedly inside this home? We don't know. Nobody knows but her and the victims.
Out of town.
And Rex Heuerman.
My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Their loss is immeasurable. And the focus should be on them at this time.
This is what got me. She should never have said that. I feel so strongly that the wife of a monster, a serial killer like Rex Heuerman, his wife, and if this guy was looking out for her best interest, he would have said, Asa, don't say that. Because it just makes it worse for these victims' families, for the families. They're like, this is the wife of the man who dismembered and murdered my loved one, my daughter, my sister, my aunt. When I heard this, I was like, what in the actual F is going on here? What is going on? And she's doing a Peacock one. She's making over $1 million off a documentary, not to mention 50 Cent, the rapper 50 Cent. She's also doing something for his production company. So she's making multi-million dollars off of the backs of 8 girls who were murdered and dismembered, some of them. Despicable, disgusting. It's gross. Yeah, Fuzzy Doxy, she's making money off of this.
Prosecutors said murders occurred when the Heuerman family was out of town.
My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Their loss is immeasurable. And the focus should be on them at this time and moment. I ask that you give some privacy to my family as they navigate through this very difficult time.
Wow.
We found it really fascinating that the behavioral analysis unit of the FBI is asking and demanding, and he will proceed to speak with them.
It's part of the agreement in court. I read some of the documents. Basically, Rex Heuermann agreed to cooperate with the behavioral analysis unit of the FBI to help study what makes a serial killer tick. And yeah, James says, I can't listen to her speak. Thank you, Katina, for the super chat, and thank you for being a channel member and a moderator. I think he's enjoying his notoriety. Absolutely. Perhaps we shouldn't say his name when discussing his case. Unfortunately, it's going to, it's going to be all over the place for the next several months. And if anything comes out further from this, Katina, it's going to continue. But as we speak here, this is what's going on. And at 1:45, we will get prepared for the press conference with Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney. It's going to be interesting because he does say a lot. He is rather mouthy. He talks a lot. And I guess in this case, that'll be a good thing. Thank you, K.A. Pisces, for the super chat. She sends in 2 and says, Rex has the worst haircut ever that I've ever seen. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. Hey, Robbie, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Martina, thank you for being a member for over a year. Good evening from Switzerland. Thank you, Ron. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Didn't the lawyer to the victims have a press conference about the daughter having to know about all this possibly? Yes, John Ray did have a press conference a year ago, and I think he spoke today. I didn't catch what he said today, but there's a civil lawsuit regarding, I believe, Vergata's brother against Asa and the daughter. I mean, the daughter during that time was 3 years old, and that's the argument there.
Rex Heuermann's future, we're finding out now in what prison he will go to. We'll find that out on June 17th.
Right. And part of it also, Jennifer, anybody could speculate about why he did this, but the last almost 3 years for him, he has been in a single cell, almost solitary confinement, 23 hours a day. That will not be the conditions when he goes upstate to prison. That could have played a part as well.
We talked about that too, the loneliness factor or the bragging factor.
Right.
Being a big cheese in that pond.
So he'll be, studied. That's really incredible by the FBI.
Yeah, Cindy and Chris, it's
So this is right outside of the Rex Heuermann home. This is where a lot of these murders took place. Allegedly, we don't know for sure because we didn't read any of the documentation. But this is where all the trucks took out the evidence and the thousands and thousands of pieces and items from this home. 270 weapons, long guns, and so forth. He had 270 weapons inside this home, this dilapidated shanty. I call it a shanty because it's really a not well upkept home for sure.
kind of weird to be out here. The last time I was here was just about 3 years ago, right after Rex Heuermann was arrested. And this entire neighborhood was a zoo that day. And for the days and weeks afterwards, I mean, the area outside of the house had been blocked off. There were dozens and dozens of news crews from all over the world here covering this case. And today it is eerily quiet. A few more photographers and crews just started to trickle in, but it has been incredibly quiet this morning as the neighborhood has been waiting with bated breath to find out what was going to be happening in court. Now, we have video from a little bit earlier today of Rex Heuermann's stepson coming out saying nothing as he went to go walk the dog a short time ago from the family's Massapequa Park home, a decaying red ranch house in the middle of this manicured suburban block, a house that has always stood out to neighbors as odd, especially because the owner, it was the acclaimed Manhattan architect Rex Heuermann. This community and all of Long Island has waited years to unmask the Gilgo Beach killer. Neighbors say they were confident of Rex Heuermann's guilt when he was arrested about 3 years ago, and are
Thank you for becoming a member, Fuzzy. It's great to have you back.
glad to see he is changing his plea today.
I've been following it since day one.
Yeah.
And I know I'm crazy, but it's just amazing to me that this person lived here for so many years. And
Wow.
so many years, it fell by the wayside. I think some people wanted to see him go to trial. I don't know that he's ever going to see the light of day, so I don't know that his plea matters.
I think he did the right thing.
Rex Heuermann, Emmy says, will be in protective custody, just like Koberger. He will be in protective custody for a period of time, but not for the entire time that he's incarcerated, which is for the rest of his natural born life. So there'll be opportunities. Also, Koberger won't be in protective custody for the remainder of his incarcerated time. And you just have to be patient and you have to wait. Wait for it. That's all you got to do is wait.
Because if they go to court, it's going to be dragged on and on and on and on. Every time I go walking past down here, nobody's around. And I don't think nobody really wants to talk about it either. I feel sorry for the family too, because they weren't even around when he was doing all this. They were on vacations all the time.
I want to say this, the residents of Massapequa Park, and I'm going to put myself back on because I got something important to say. The residents of Massapequa Park, I was there. I spent one full, actually 2 days. One day I went inside my vehicle. I didn't get out. And then the second time I went out with the gimbal and actually went out. And some of the neighbors and some of the people from the community there, and I know 2 people who actually live on the block, two people that my wife works with live on that block, a brother and a sister down, a couple doors down from each other. And they invited me to come out to their home and talk about what their thoughts were over the years of the Heuermann home and everybody in that entire neighborhood. And if you watched any of my videos, when I drove around in the car, there were little kids on the street playing. There was a little blonde girl that went across in front of the car when me and my wife were in there and the dash cam was on. And I stopped at the stop sign and she waved to us, and this is right down the street from Rex Heuermann, just a short time after he was arrested. But I have Emily up on the screen because she was my very, 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 very first channel member. And you see a member for 72 months. Emily became a channel member, the very first person. And I asked her to send me a message on DutyRon.com because I want to send her a special something for being a member for over 6 years. So thank you, Emily, for being here and being a part of this community. But yeah, Massapequa Park is a beautiful community. And everybody is, shocked and in horror that they were living amongst this guy, including the people who served him at the Starbucks where he used to go every morning. I talked to one of the servers at Starbucks, and he told me the guy was creepy, and I got a bad vibe from him all the time. Every time he came in here, he just had something. There was something about him, and it's just amazing to hear these, reports.
And now some neighbors out here told us they're also hopeful that they'll get their neighborhood back. I mean, for the past 3 years, this has been the center of this case has been this red home, and it has completely upended this neighborhood that, again, is a quiet residential suburban block. So some are hopeful.
Jonathan Dillers grew up in my town. He grew up and went to the same high school my kids went to, and he went to the same school district I went to. And Diller's parents still live in my community. I know he lives down the block, and thank you for that, James. such a shame what happened in that case and how the perp in that case was not charged with murder in the first degree, which he should have been. He was found guilty, I believe, of aggravated manslaughter, and just a horrible case. But thank you for bringing that up.
That maybe the news crew stopped coming now that he's pleaded guilty. We are now waiting to see if his ex-wife, his daughter, are going to be coming home. We haven't seen them come home yet, but we'll keep you posted.
Today, this has got to be rewarded.
Okay, this is the Suffolk County former police commissioner Rodney Harrison. What a great guy and what a great investigator. He was the chief of detectives at the NYPD, and he retired and got picked up to be the Suffolk County police commissioner.
For you and your team, for your years of work, putting this case together and seeing these guilty verdicts today for these victims.
One of the things that I was able to learn during my time frame at NYPD was the blueprint of solving investigations, and that's bringing all law enforcement agencies together. And there was a little bit of reluctancy, I'm going to be very, very honest with you, because of some of the past things that have happened inside that department. But getting everybody to work together, the Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byer that oversaw the task force, I want to make sure that he gets the appropriate acknowledgement, allowed this to be a rewarding day. And once again, as I shared this earlier, people that go into law enforcement, we do it for days like this.
How many people have a deep admiration for former police commissioner Rodney Harrison? This man is a dedicated investigator. He never forgot where he came from. He was a cop and a detective and rose through the ranks to be the chief of the detectives in the largest police department in the United States, the NYPD, the department that I worked for. And he came as the Suffolk County Police Commissioner, and he ran with this case, and he pushed investigators. Unlike what we see in Tucson, the sheriff, Chris Nanos, he can't even come close to this guy. This guy is a warrior for justice.
Together, and there was a little bit of reluctancy, I'm going to be very, very honest with you, because of some of the past things that have happened inside that department. But getting everybody to work together, the Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byer that oversaw the task force, I want to make sure that he gets the appropriate acknowledgement, allowed this to be a rewarding day. And once again, as I shared this earlier, people that go into law enforcement, we do it for days like this. We do it to make sure that we bring some type of comfort, relief to families, but yet at the same time hold people accountable.
You knew you had your guy. Are you surprised that he finally admitted to it?
I am. I'm going to be honest with you. And there's a little part where he's getting a little bit of a pass by taking a plea because he doesn't want that public embarrassment. I'm not looking to say that that's necessarily something.
I said it. Whoever was here with me during this whole 52-minute live stream, I said exactly what the former police commissioner of Suffolk County just said, that he was embarrassed to have his ugliness spewed out in court for, there's no cameras in the courtroom, but Rex Heuermann is not a dummy. He knows that reporters are going to report on his filth and all of his dirty deeds that he did and all of the savage behavior that he did and how he documented it. And the commissioner just said it here. He said it perfectly. Rex Heuermann was embarrassed. That's why he pled guilty. He didn't care about the victims and their families, as was alluded to. He didn't care. He doesn't care about his wife or his daughter or his stepson, because if he cared about them, he wouldn't have been the monster that he is, right? So he's doing this for himself, for numero uno, for Rex Heuermann, not for anybody else, because he doesn't give a fuck about his victims. He doesn't give a fuck about his family. Let's be straight with that.
Embarrassment. I'm not looking to say that that's necessarily something that public embarrassment. I'm not looking to say that that's by him. I'm going to be honest with you, and there's a little part where he's getting a little bit of a pass by taking a plea because he doesn't want that public embarrassment. I'm not looking to say that that's necessarily something that I'm looking for, but there is a part where he's going to be a little bit relieved knowing that he doesn't have to deal with that public scrutiny.
Commissioner, thank you very much.
His dirty laundry won't be out there.
Rich, thank you. And as we have said, Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann has pleaded guilty to 7 counts of murder. We remember the women, the victims at the center of the case. 8 lives, each with a story, each deeply missed by the people who love them.
Sandra Castilla was 28 years old, a woman from Trinidad and Tobago whose life ended.
All right, let's take a moment to recognize these victims. They're going to run through each of the victims, their names, their hometown, their age at the time of their murders. Again, these are the victims. This is what it's about, and it's also about their surviving families, their mothers, their sisters, their brothers, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, and all of their friends. So let's listen.
Ended far from home. Maureen, 8 years.
With a story each deeply missed by the people who love them.
Sandra Castilla was 28 years old, a woman from Trinidad and Tobago whose life ended far from home. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, a 25-year-old mother of 2 from Norwich, Connecticut, worked to keep a roof over her family's head, returning to sex work after falling behind on bills.
Melissa Barthélemy, 24, from Erie County, was living in the Bronx trying to make ends meet. Megan Waterman, just 22 years old, from Maine, a mother to a 3-year-old daughter whose family grew worried when she suddenly stopped checking in.
Amber Costello, 27, from West Babylon. Her family believed she was in treatment and didn't know she was missing until it was too late. And Valerie Mack, 24, living in Philadelphia, a mother whose disappearance was never reported after a life that included time in foster care.
Jessica Taylor, 20 years old, living in Manhattan when her life was cut short. And Karen Vergata, 34 years old, from Manhattan, who went unidentified for nearly 3 decades, known only as Jane Doe until science helped identify her.
8 women, not just victims, but daughters, mothers, and people who matter, people who had lives that were taken way too soon.
Amen to that. Shout out to CBS New York for putting the victims first, the victims and their families. I want to just ask you guys, if you can, please take a moment to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you to everybody that's here. We have over 680,000 subscribers. Thanks to the good people like yourselves who talk and tell people about this community, with Ed Wallace and all of our fine, esteemed guests that we asked to join us, like Lieutenant Commander NYPD retired Joe Cardinale. He'll be joining me in 45 minutes. This live stream is going to teleport you to the press conference with Ray Tierney. That's the Suffolk County Police, Suffolk County District Attorney, excuse me. Ray Tierney was the man who was tasked with charging this case. He was going to be the lead on the case in court with all presentations, and obviously he would have had some assistance as well from assistant district attorneys, but Ray Tierney was prosecuting this case. So again, if you want to see that press conference live, we'll have that in 45 minutes. I'm going to take a little lunch break and I'll be back. I want to say thank you to the super chatters, the replay viewers, the moderators, the folks who send us cups of coffee. Kathy, thank you for the 20. Appreciate that. Emily, thank you for all the beautiful years. Fuzzy Doxy, over 6 years. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Das Libra. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I'm going to go full screen with the victims. There they are. 8. He was charged with 7, and he admitted to the 7th murder. That's Karen Vergata. Again, let's keep them all in our thoughts and prayers. I'll see you guys soon, and I love you all back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Let us know where you are in the country or the world so we know to say hello to you. Peace and love.